What is going on, everybody, and welcome to today's video. We are covering the greatest FIFA cards of all time, the most iconic, the cards that the streets will never forget. All the way from FIFA 10 to FIFA 21, excluding FIFA 11, because I didn't get any suggestions on that game, and I also didn't play it, so I wouldn't know what was overpowered. But I did get a couple of suggestions for FIFA 10, and the first one is John Carew. Now, I never used the card. I can't vouch for it. But looking at its face stats, it was only 82 rated, but it had 92 heading and 85 pace. Now, if you are a new FIFA Ultimate Team player, you might not recognize the 92 heading. That's what used to be the stat in place of physicality. Now heading is thrown in to the defensive stat, and then jumping and stuff like that is thrown into the physicality stat. Well, it used to have its own face stat, and heading was actually a huge factor back in these games, especially if you compare it to like FIFA 14 and stuff like that, where heading was so important because you would run down the wings with your quick outside mids like Blechkovsky and Marco Reus, and then you would cross it into the likes of Mandzukic or Miroslav Klose, and they would just head the ball in, and you would score 4 times from that in a single game. Well, I assume it was pretty similar with this card, 85 pace and 92 heading, and this was before stats were super juiced in FIFA. This might look average for FIFA 21, but it was exceptional for FIFA 10. The most iconic Udinese player of all time is without a doubt Di Natale, and this card looks sick. 88 rating, which means it might not have been overpowered. It might have been just really, really good, because you should be good at 88 rating, but it does go down as one of the more iconic cards from FIFA 10. Before you had Neymar, you had NILMAR, and Brazilian cards were super common back in FIFA 12 and FIFA 13 because you still had the Brazilian league in the game. So a lot of people made teams called the Brazilvers because of how good they were in the game in FIFA, because of the skill moves and the pace and the dribbling, which was the meta, and it was no different here with NILMAR. Pace, dribble, skill moves, that's all you needed. El Shaarawy's career was very similar to Marco Reus in the fact that it continued to get hindered by injuries, but back when he was in FIFA 12 at 73 rated, he was one of the top prospects, and his card in the game was so good for some reason, and I think a lot of that reason came down to the 5-star skills once again, but it's not like any stat really stood out, but I think people just loved the fact that a silver card was so good to use in gameplay. WELLITON and also another guy named WELLITON were 2 strikers from Brazil. I decided to just put WELLITON on here because I think he was a little bit more overpowered. He was higher rated by a few as well, but the same thing in these Brazilians is the pace and the skill moves, but this guy also had shooting, and his dribbling wasn't nearly as high as NILMAR, but still, you saw him everywhere. In FIFA 13, it started to fade away from the Brazilians and into another category of insanely OP attackers, and it was Emenike starting that trend. He was 81 rated with 90 pace, 77 dribbling, and 78 shooting. You look at that card, and if it was at the beginning of FIFA 22, would you even be looking at this card for your starter team? Maybe to use for like a week before you dump them? No. In FIFA 13, this was an end game card. You used this from the first week of FIFA to the last week of FIFA, and he was still the best striker in the game, maybe other than like a team of the year or a super juiced card at the end of the game, and even then it was a debate. Stay the center back. Do I need to say anymore? What a great card, and Nepenthes cemented his name into the FIFA Hall of Fame without a doubt. Agbonlahor could have been his FIFA 12 or FIFA 13 card. Either way, ridiculously good. I love the silvers that used to be used a ton in FIFA. They really have faded away. I mean, the last silver I can really remember was the Brazilian Cristiano. That was a couple of years back now, and there hasn't really been any cool silvers to use in the recent FIFAs, but back in FIFA 12, 13, 14, maybe even 15 with some of the team of the season cards, the silvers were very evident in the game, and now they're just SBC fodder, or you force them into a team to do an objective. How times have changed. While he might not be known for his pace or his shooting or being good in FIFA whatsoever, I had to put him in this video. KSI made Emil HESKEY one of the most famous FIFA cards of all time with his several YouTube videos on him. And if you watched any YouTube back in 2014, then you know exactly who this guy is. If there was a top 3 most infamous cards list anywhere, this guy would be in my top 3, if not maybe number 1. Victor Ibarbo played in the Serie A, and his card was another one of those cards like Emenike that you used in day 1 of FIFA, and you used on the last day of FIFA, and there was no cards that could beat him out. This card was unbelievable. I mean, you would want Ibarbo in your squad at any cost, because if you played against him and you didn't have him, it was like a cheat code. When Miroslav Klose broke the record for most goals scored in the World Cup in history with 16, he got this card. It released in both Ultimate Team, regular, and then also the World Cup mode of Ultimate Team, and it had 99 heading, which makes sense because half of his 16 World Cup goals were with his head. But what a card it was, and again, cheat code. You could literally run down the wings with your quick wingers like Blechkovsky, or in this case, maybe somebody from the Serie A, like a Barbo, and you would just cross it in to Miroslav Klose, and he would score every single time. Not fair. Best Team of the Year cards of all time was this Ibrahimovic card. It was extinct at 15 million coins for most of the year. He was so good. I mean, 98 shooting, 94 dribbling, 88 passing, 87 heading. He had 5-star skills. He had 4-star weak foot. And his 82 pace was kind of the downfall of that card, although it really didn't matter. He would just tank through any defender you put in his way. Sharaawy was an inform that looked okay. He had good stats, but the killer was he had 5-star skill moves and 5-star weak foot. And then you could also link him to a teammate on a hyperlink to end up making it a very usable card in FIFA. So there was a few weeks in FIFA 15 where everyone was using this guy. A couple of players in FIFA 15 were extinct, and that means that was after EA introduced price ranges in the middle of the year, which was one of the worst decisions that EA have ever made, and it completely messed up the rest of the game in terms of the transfer market. So a lot of players wouldn't sell because their price range was listed too high and nobody wanted to pay that much for him. Or some of them, like DYBALA, was way too low and he was capped at like 150,000 coins and everybody wanted him. And so he would sell within the first second of him being listed every single time for 150K, and it became a competition to try to get this guy off of the market and put him in your team. He was one of the most rare cards in the game. People that packed him, their YouTube videos blew up, and I remember I think Nick28T was really trying to get this guy for a very long time. Exact same thing for Tots ELTON, another card that was extinct. I think this one was at 400,000 coins, and I actually packed him in a regular gold pack. I don't know how I did it, but again, I uploaded that video to YouTube. I remember Bateson tweeted it out. It was one of the best days of being my content creator career. Like, it was such a good day. I packed ELTON, which was already insane, but then I uploaded it and it started blowing up. Oh, great memories. I believe this was the first ever year where the Fuddies promo was released, and Fuddies was awesome because you voted for what cards you wanted to see in FIFA, and Bale ended up winning, and this card was so good. 97 pace, 90 dribbling, 90 shooting, 87 physicality, and this was way before SBCs, so you wouldn't have to do a squad building challenge for him. You just tried to pack him or get him off the transfer market in what I think was one of the more fun FIFAs, which was FIFA 15. I really just wish price ranges wouldn't have ruined so much of that game. FIFA 16, in my opinion, was one of the more dead FIFAs of all time, but if you played the game, you remember trying to save up enough money to afford Weah, who is very confusing because a lot of people think he's from the USA, which he's not. He's from Liberia, but his son plays for the USA, so it makes it even more confusing now. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was only 84 rated back in FIFA 16, and I believe he'll probably be about 84 rated in FIFA 22 now as well. But he had 96 pace, 83 shooting, 80 dribbling, 75 passing, 71 physicality on his base card, so he was super sweaty to use. If you had a choice between using Jack Butland, Manuel Neuer, Van der Sar, Courtois, or any other goalkeeper in the entirety of the game, the correct answer was always Jack Butland. I don't know why his card was so good. He saved everything. He was the best goalkeeper in the game. In fact, he got an upgrade from 82 to, I believe it was 86 during Fuddies at the end of the year. And his 82 rated card was still the best goalkeeper in the game. I don't know why this card was so broken. I don't know how it was so broken. I don't even think EA understand why it was happening. But he was used by everyone, and for good reason. He saved everything. FIFA 17 is going to have a couple more cards in this episode because there were so many iconic players in this game because it was the introduction of squad building challenges and people were starstruck, and for good reason. That was such a good introduction into FIFA. Squad building challenges have been amazing, although I think they're starting to take them in the wrong direction. This was their prime. And this is a card that you got from a League SBC. Before they were completely dead and you only did them to stack a couple of average packs for a promo, you used to do them and they would be worth it. You would get tradable packs in return, along with completing the entire league would give you a choice of a couple of different cards, or this card, Suarez, 94 rated from an SBC. That was cheaper to do than what the card would be worth on the market, and you got the packs in return. That's what I call a good deal. Used his 87 rated or his 89 rated player of the month. I think the 87 rated was probably even more iconic than the 89, just because I think a lot more people had the 87, and once the 89 came out, people didn't want to do the 89 because they already had the 87. Either way, either card was ridiculous. He was probably the most OP card in FIFA 17 because he was just unstoppable. And maybe not OP because, yes, Jack Butland was ridiculously OP in FIFA 17 because this guy, I guess, deserved to be really good. But next up, we've got Heung-min Son, and this was when he was winning a couple of Player of the Month back in FIFA 17. He had an 87 and an 89 Player of the Month. I think the 87 might even be more iconic, just because a lot of people got that Player of the Month card from an SBC, and then this one dropped a couple months later, and they were like, oh, I don't need this, I already have the 87. Either way, both cards ridiculous. Another Fuddies winner, just like Jack Butland, and a lot of the times you saw Luke Shaw at left back, Smalling at center back, and Jack Butland at goalkeeper. No matter what else you had in your squad, you could have Messi, Neymar, Ronaldo, De Bruyne. You could have all these players up top, and then your defense would still be Luke Shaw, Smalling, Butland. You could have a million coins sitting in your account. The best option was still Luke Shaw, Smalling, Butland. N'Golo Kante got Player of the Year in FIFA 17 for the Premier League, and his card was super nice. It had all stats 85 and above, and it had 5 stats 90 and above. But this dropped in about April. This was before Team of the Season, so it was the best center mid in the game at this point in time. He ended up getting a tradable version of this like exact same card stats. It was a different version, a different type of card, but it was the exact same stats. So whether you did the SBC or not, you could always have the option of getting him, so a lot of people used this guy. Real groundbreaking card from FIFA 17 was Nainggolan, the Team of the Season card that was the first ever card to be 90 plus on every single face stat. 90 pace, 94 shooting, 95 passing, 96 dribbling, 94 defense, 95 physicality. That's 5 stats 94 and above as well. And this created what was known as the 9 Golan Club, or the 90 Golan Club, as a lot of people called it. This was FIFA history. It wasn't that memorable of a game. It really wasn't. It was kind of FIFA 17, but you kind of threw it in the dumpster, took it back out, and it was broken. That's what FIFA 18 was. This Martial card, though, started a new era in terms of OP Premier League teams, and he was always at the front of it. You could play him at left mid, left wing, or striker, and he would get the job done. And that was the case, honestly, from 18, 19, and 20. FIFA 19, Quincy Promes was one of the best starter cards of all time. Everybody wanted Quincy Promes in their team right at the beginning of the year, and they used him for quite a while. He lasted probably until December or January before he got phased out of a lot of teams, and then he got some upgrades which made him relevant for even longer. Allen was a card that I used all year. His FIFA 19 card was so good. He had 77 pace, which was a lot higher than most center defensive mids because he was naturally a center mid, but with the defensive stats and the physicality stats, I always threw him at CDM, and he linked with all the Brazilians from the other leagues, as well as obviously linking with the Serie A cards. He was really good for hybrid teams. And we've got to include what was probably the greatest icon card of all time, and that includes legend cards. Although George Weah is probably in the top 3. Ronaldo's 96 rated card in FIFA 19. It was the card that everybody wanted to strive for. By the end of the year, you wanted this guy. And for most of the year, he was extinct. Not because of the fact that it was too overpriced. I mean, a lot of the times EA had the price range kind of correct. It was just the fact that Ronaldo was so good that once you bought him, you never ever sold him. He was in your team for the rest of the year and you never had any complaints. With other cards, you buy the card and you get sick of it after 3 weeks. No, Ronaldo, if you bought him on week 1, he was your starting striker for 52 weeks. You didn't sell him. So he was never on the market unless he got packed and got listed immediately, and that was really rare. 19 and FIFA 20 were really the first 2 FIFAs to absolutely juice cards for no reason at the end of the year, and it was kind of to bridge the gap between the end of this FIFA and the start of the next one. It kind of ruins the joy of trying to build a super good team throughout the year, because if you start your account in July, you'll probably end up with a better team than somebody who got burnt out after the first 9 months of grinding the game, which it kind of sucks a little bit, but you always want to get these cards still, and it does its job. It bridges that gap, and Vinicius Jr. got one of these Summer Heat cards, which was 95 rated, with 99 pace, and 99 dribbling, and 94 shooting. I mean, if you saw this kind of card in FIFA 13, I think you would shit your pants. This wasn't even the best Mbappe card of the game in terms of rating, but it was definitely the best Mbappe card for gameplay. He had 5-star weak foot and 5-star skill moves on this foot birthday upgrade, so he ended up getting a team of the season. He ended up getting a couple more other upgrades. He got up to probably 97 or 98 rating, but no, you wanted the 94 rated Mbappe. This card was OP. That 5-star weak foot was so important in FIFA 20 that it didn't matter if you juiced all his stats to 99 and he had a 3-star weak foot, this card would have been better because of that weak foot upgrade. And now we have very recent cards in the last couple months, in the last couple weeks. For one of these guys, we've got Silas as our first FIFA 21 card. And this guy, it wasn't like he was the best card ever. He wasn't the best card in FIFA 21, but similar to HESKEY back in the day, Danny Aarons brought Silas to life. His series on Silas and Mura and his growth this year has been unbelievable. I'm super proud of him, super happy for him. And I think this card is going to go down in history as one of the more famous and more iconic cards, whether it's his inform or his gold card or his team of the season. Silas will go down in history. Next up, we've got Ferland Mendy, the left back card, and I could have included him in FIFA 20 just as well as FIFA 21 because in FIFA 20, he had that 80 rated card, which he used for like 10 months, and then his Fuddies card dropped, and if you didn't get that Fuddies card from Objectives, then that meant you didn't have the best left back in the game. You had the second best, his 80 rated card. So if you wanted to upgrade from the second best to the new best, you went and got that upgraded card, which was probably the best left back in FIFA history. And in FIFA 21, it was the exact same thing. 83 rated this time, huge boost on his card, which only made him better. And to finish off today's video, I couldn't leave this card out. Messi transferring from Barcelona to PSG. This was the first ever Messi card that wasn't a Barcelona card. And it was 99 rating with 3 stats 99 rated. Another stat 98. And another stat 90. A 90 physicality Messi. I mean, was it fair in the first place? No. Is it fair now? Absolutely not. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you made it to the end of the video, I need you guys to comment down below a card that I missed that is an iconic FIFA card. Go ahead and comment that down below. I'm going to heart that. I'll try to reply to as many as I can, and I'll make sure to note who makes it to the end of my videos because it does mean a lot to me. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.